Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Crash Couch. I'm your host, Chris. Today, we are going to be discussing the, I can't believe I'm saying it, series finale of The Expanse. Episode 6 of Season 6. And joining me today is my trusty co-pilot, Joel. Joel, how are you?
I'm doing well, sir. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate that.
We have Ernie back.
I'm
how
more,
are you?
I'm more like that muscle, I'm like Amos, backing you up. So.
Yeah. And for the first time this season, we have Ian. Ian, how are you?
Hey, I'm so good.
Who are you? If Joel is the pilot and Ernie is the muscle.
If Joel is the pilot, I'm just a bystander. I'm one of the people that got blown up on the docks of Sirius.
He's the proto-molecule.
Yeah, I'm the proto-molecule hanging out in the corner of the ship. That's me. Yeah, or I'm Prax. I just have a little teaser, just a little bit of the
No, we need more praxis in our lives. That's great. Okay.
I was so happy when he showed up.
Small role, very important role, very important, very small.
So we're here to discuss the finale of The Expanse. Still weird to be saying that. The episode has been out now for a week. We're recording this on January the 21st, so we've had a little bit of time to let it digest. I don't know if you guys have rewatched it. I've not. I've only seen it the first time. I have watched some reaction videos. So I did see people watching it then, so I got some of that footage for a second time and third time and so on. But I've only seen it once. But I want to be one of the last ones to talk about my thoughts. So, but before we get into that, I want to give Ian an opportunity to, one, say hello, say how he's doing, and second, to give his thoughts on where Season 6 has been up to this point.
All right, cool. Yeah. Hi. I'm good. I haven't been on because I wasn't doing good, but I'm doing better now. So I'm here for the final episode of this podcast. Who knows? If we're all still alive when they inevitably do the last 3 seasons, we'll come back. My thoughts on the season. I thought it was good. That's like the bar that The Expanse has set. It is going to be good. I'm sad it's only 6 episodes. I still don't get why they kept it to 6 episodes. I did enjoy watching the little kind of character pieces in X-Ray. I thought those were really, really kind of delightful views into the world of The Expanse. I felt to me it kind of suffered from. It's not nearly as bad as the last Star Wars trilogy, but it made me think of how, especially in Episode 9, we see these there's no timetable. We're seeing are these huge epic moments with these huge epic people, and in the final season, it kind of feels like. It does feel rushed in that there's just so much happening so quick. And it's not like I want them to have us watch them be on a ship for 10 months, while they're getting to the ring or however long it takes. But it is, everything is so broadly sweeping and epic that I kind of miss the more intimate, slower character building moments. You do get that in the X-Ray stuff, but that's bonus content, and so many people miss that.
Yeah, that's fair.
But overall, I love the way they wrapped it up. To me, the finale was perfect.
Well, we talked pretty much. I mean, we've not been able to do one episode of the podcast per episode of the show like we have in the past, but we have talked on the couple times we've got together before. Is that the show really built up a lot of these smaller character moments, and while there really wasn't a lot that truly happened, we had some really cool big moments, but nothing that was as big as when we had the reveal of Miller as the investigator. Or that was his name, right? The investigator.
It is. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm glad you investigated that, Chris. That's quite appropriate.
But we didn't have that. We didn't have like something as like in the very first episode when the Cant blew up. That was shocking. There was a few things thrown in throughout the season, but it was a big character drama, which that might be how the book was. But I'm with you, Ian. We'll save all of like our final thoughts on the season as a whole and even the series as a whole for later. But let's just go ahead and talk a little bit about this episode in particular. We spent a lot of time in the last episode kind of talking about our predictions, what we thought might happen, things we wanted to see, things we really didn't want to see. I'm going to let Ernie go first this time.
Yes. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not that excited just because my thoughts are so jumbled. I agree, though. I do feel like there's good and bad about this season. Not in a sense where it's like it's unbearable. It was just I would have preferred it done a certain way, but that's just because I have certain taste and likes and dislikes, whatever. That's fine with me. But I found myself very happy and satisfied with the ending that was presented to us. It did feel a little rushed, and I feel like the season definitely had some pacing issues. I preferred the first half of the season where it was very drawn out, very character driven, very story oriented, and kind of this boiling pot situation. But I feel like the ending definitely made me feel bad. Great, but I felt bad the next day because I realized that's it. That this might be the last time we see these characters. The last time I see the Rossi fly, that part made me really, really sad. But overall, I feel like the season was great. Some minor things I'll touch on from here and there. But yeah, that's kind of my quick assessment.
Joel, you have your virtual hand raised.
Honestly, I think this is an excellent way to wrap up the season. Ultimately, I'm in the camp who thinks there's something else on the horizon or in the gates. Because the reason why they spent so much time on Laconia in the storyline is because there's something else coming down. Read the books, right? So there's something else coming down. And why would they spend so much productive time in terms of production and screen time on a TV series if they're not trying to do something else? Most likely a movie on Amazon.
It's going to be the Firefly treatment, I swear. It's going to be like that. We've had this TV series and season or whatever, but we're going to have a movie. I'm predicting it. So you heard it here, folks. We're coming back on the Crash Couch. No, I said that last time, but I totally agree with you, Joel.
Because they invested because they spent a lot of screen time doing story plot points that is necessary for a movie. Why would they do that? They have a reason, right? Because this is not jump change. This is not just fly-by-night TV production. It's actually really good. They know what they're doing. I trust the producers of The Expanse, right? The showrunner, Amazon Prime. They know what they're doing. That's my thoughts.
I guess
Ian,
it's
what
my
about
turn. You? Yeah. I love the way that Marcos died. Just, 2 seconds of screen time, him realizing they've made a mistake, realizing what's happening, and then he's dead. And I'm also in the camp that I think there's something down the pipeline. I think whether or not it's even on Amazon, it's very clear the showrunners and the producer want to take the content elsewhere. They want to keep the story going. I hope they can finish it out with 3 seasons. If we get a movie, that's squeezing so much into a movie. But I want to see, if you read the books, Kara and Zan matter, and Winston Duarte really matters a lot. And so seeing him kind of brush off Marcos was awesome. Just kind of like, thanks for being a pawn in my game. Goodbye. I have gods to kill. you can't just drop that and then just like not go anywhere with that. So I really, really hope that we get to see him try to kill gods at some point in the future. Yeah,
Ian. Oh my God, man, you're absolutely hit the nail on the head there, man. Killing gods. That's the what if. What's in the abyss, right? Because you're stirring the abyss, which is the final shot of episode 6. You're stirring in the abyss, in the gate, right? Okay. There's monsters, and we'll see monsters eventually. That's amazing.
And we saw the ship. We've seen this huge ship. Real quick, this huge ship. We know nothing about this ship, but this ship is so cool.
I felt a little torn about Marcos's death. Really? I agree with you. Yeah. So I agree with you that I loved seeing that guy just perish into dust or whatever the hell that was. That was awesome. But I felt the same way I did when Joffrey died on Game of Thrones. Like this guy deserves to be tortured and killed, and Inaros needed to fry like slower for me in my head. But I loved seeing him go away.
Yeah. Let us do the last line of Marco, right? Okay. We're off. The guy, I think so much satisfaction is in his death, but that's probably more about me than everyone else. But it's really good. I love that.
Was anybody totally shocked that Philip hopped away early?
I have a thought about that.
All right.
I'll say it when I get to
let's hear Chris. Let's hear your thoughts. Oh wait, Joel.
Yeah, because we're talking before we get to the son. Let's deal with the father first, okay? The fact of the matter is, with Marco, he had his space dress uniform on, right, or whatever it's called, right? Oh, his costume.
His space dress, yes.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the dress regs are in the Free Navy, but whatever. Icarus, he has an Icarus patch on his arm, right? Icarus, the ancient Greek, right, who flew too close to the sun because of his hubris, and he got killed.
Excellent use of the word hubris.
Yeah,
well done.
You see the bird symbol on his chest, right, in his outfit. I'm trying to be respectful. Uniform. It's kind of hard to tell in terms of Free Navy, but it tells a lot about Marco because he flew too close to the sun, and he got eaten by the entities. And I took great joy about that because because he's a villain, right? He's a jerk.
I like that analogy. Flew too close to the sun. Like that's actually a smart way to say it. So first I want to talk about Philip. Since Ian asked that, I loved that reveal, I guess, of him at the end. Going away, like just as his dad was like leading that chant, and they just had that conversation after Rosenfeld died. Like that was, I think, the perfect. That is how I wanted him to not be redeemed, because he really didn't. I mean, he did some bad things, but he wasn't like Marco level bad. But that is how I wanted to. Yeah, exactly. I wanted to see him like have just this one specific moment that just put him over the edge, because we've like seen him torn really between his dad and Naomi when she was there, and we never really. I mean, they didn't like that. He could have died on the ship. Like that wouldn't. If that would have happened, that wouldn't have surprised me. But I just like that they had this one specific moment where he was like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore, and he left. And then actually somebody online pointed it out that I'm pretty sure this is true because it lines up, but it looks like whenever right before Marco dies, it looks like he looks over to see Philip and notices that he's not there. Like he looks over in Philip's direction, which he would notice that he's not there. So if that's the case, I would have to watch it again, but that lines up. So if that's the case, and that's just like brilliant storytelling. But as far as the whole season goes by itself, this is honestly probably one of my least favorite seasons of the show as a whole. it's not bad. Nothing in the show has been bad. Like, I don't want to point that out. It was just I'm with y'all. I think it was rushed. It didn't have that excitement factor that I felt with some of the other seasons, especially some of the Amazon ones that we got before. It didn't have like that. I mean, again, we have these character moments that we've talked about the whole time, but it didn't, like, there was drama, but it was like we already knew what that drama was, and it wasn't like building up anything. It wasn't building up any more tension. It wasn't like trying to like lead us to the ultimate conclusion in what I thought was super exciting ways. It was dramatized very, very well, but everything as a whole just didn't, like, I mean, it was good. I'm satisfied, but I don't think it was like perfect, like a lot of people are saying. I think it was really damaged by being only 6 episodes, and the fact that I think that maybe I have a hunch that that's not really what the writers and the producers and the showrunners wanted to do. They probably would have rather have like maybe closer to 10 to spread it out. But I mean, overall, I mean, it's not bad. It is not bad at all. It is just like not my favorite. It's not the way that I would have wanted to had I gotten the choice. All of that being
the Expanse. It's like, we love the Expanse. Sorry to cut you off. So we want more of it. Like,
yeah,
we're all struggling with only having, like, what could we have seen? You know?
Yeah,
what could have been.
It's like I was knowing that, like, if you told me, hey, you're only getting 6 seasons of this, then what we got was probably the best it was going to get. Let's be honest. There's nothing that I can think back and be like, okay, well, I would have done this differently. I think as it is, it's perfect in that sense, but it's not ideal.
Hey, you know
what
it was funny too, Chris?
Anybody would agree with you.
So I had no idea that episode 6 was going to be the last one. So I just didn't look into it. You know, it wasn't until you posted in our group chat message that, well, that's it. I'm like, what? No wonder everybody on Instagram was posting photos of the cast and the crew and all that stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, we're doing this. So
I can see why that made that. I can see why you got even more. That's you had no idea. So that's probably why you're so sad the next day.
Yeah. It was like this withdrawal. It's just, oh man. But it was funny because I was like, oh, okay, we're actually doing this. I immediately shut off my Instagram, turned on the TV, and drank a few beers and just watch that ride. Or as Amos would lovingly put it, into the churn. You know. So yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, and Chris, come on, man. 6 episodes. Yeah, I'm sure they spent a lot of money on the CGI, which is great. We saw Amos in an assault chair land on a space station, okay, in a firefight. That was amazing. He was screaming, man, screaming.
That segment might be my favorite part of the entire series.
Wait,
it was so cool.
So we're talking about when Amos is in the chair and it's like the camera's like going around him, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Joel, you've been the critique of the CGI the whole time that you've been on this podcast, and probably even before you were on the podcast when you just did our social media. What is your honest opinion? No joking. What is your honest opinion on that scene?
I was frightened and horrified because if I was a young man, and not young now, I will probably be in that chair screaming and thinking death is going to show up any moment, because that's horrifying, man. Going into assault like that, knowing full well that the odds are against you, that you will even meet, then the ground, like, right, even coming down on the space station to actually commit the assault, that's horrifying. And you have Amos going, ah, in character.
Yeah, I mean, Amos screaming it is not like cool screaming or rage screaming, but like I'm scared screaming.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I thought it was just so well done. It was one of the coolest things I've seen just in sci-fi in general. It was just like that whole segment was so cool and so well done.
And he volunteered for the mission. He didn't have to go. He volunteered for that mission. Amazing.
And
It's a
things
rare-
build up to it, yeah.
It's also a rare moment of Amos truly showing his emotion, because he's very much. I explained this whole. I don't know, one of the seasons of our podcast, but I explained how I think Amos is a psychopath. When there's like the actual term psychopath that actually means like void of other people's feelings, and you yourself like don't realize that you're lacking in feeling. And I really believe that about Amos, but that was just a rare moment to see him express anger and express fear. And it was so well done. The camera work, was beautiful too, just kind of captured that moment. It was very much a space age D-Day, without the big numbers.
And because this perhaps is our last podcast episode, hopefully not, but we'll see, right? Okay. Yeah, so I made one comment in season 2, perhaps, when I said something about CGI. Yeah, I still apologize. I think the CGI is great, and all the production crew, my support. I love you from my heart. Okay, that's all I want to say.
So the reason that I asked that, and I can't believe that I'm being the one that's stepping into Joel's shoes, is that
don't say it, Chris. Don't say it.
I didn't think that scene, like the scene was cool, but I didn't think it looked all that great.
Oh no, man! It worked for me, man. It worked for.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine, but then once I got to like think about it, I was like, wait a minute. They probably just like sat him in a chair, told him to scream, and just moved the camera around him. Which is cool when you think about how movies are made and shows are made, but I don't know. It was a little weird.
Yeah, but it's also a little weird being in a amphibious landing craft at D-Day, right? Okay? Yeah, these guys are like, holy fuck, we're not going to make this out. We're in the first wave. And most of them didn't, right? And if you look at the battle casualties in this battle, right? So casualties define not death, but taken out of the action, right? Okay. Yeah, most of the assault teams got destroyed. And by the way, there's a great Easter egg with all the assault teams. Check it out if you see the stills online. Amazing.
Yeah, they name just about every classic sci-fi character. I was gonna say actor, but it's character. It's a fun Easter egg. There's a lot of them spread throughout the whole.
It was like right in your face, hugging you, right?
Yeah.
I
did it, Joel.
Fun.
I did it, Joel.
That's amazing. I was going to do it.
Joel is so excited right now.
Oh, God, that's amazing. I'm going to have another beer. Thanks. I appreciate that.
All it takes is a pun, and then Joel has to have beer.
Yeah, pretty much.
Any of your puns make me want to go back to drinking.
I know, but I have a lot of Irish in me. It comes by me naturally. Okay, I'm sorry.
One thing that I liked to put a positive spin on the CGI is the battle when you had Drummer and her ships fighting against Marco and his ships. That was probably one of my top 3 space battles in the entire show. It felt so smart. It felt so cinematic. I think that they really went all out on trying to make that visually stunning for one of the final climaxes of this entire run. I thought it was very emotional to see. I don't remember the guy's name, but that one guy that she was working with, to see him pop up and run into the whatever that other ship was called. I don't remember their name either. But to see that it was so good. And I really thought that Drummer was going to bite the dust there, but I was glad that didn't happen. But yeah,
I had the same idea, Boss Mang, that part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yep. It's interesting. We have this pirate, right? This boulder pirate, Lang Walker, and he's the guy who died in battle, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And the very next sequences of shots was the Roosevelt Ganlang character, who's Marco's second in command, gets around into the chest and dies, right? And you look at spelling: Lang, Walker, Wasserfield, Go Lang. So there's a tie to these people, right? They're the captains who's being killed in battle, not commanders. There's lieutenants, whatever you want to describe it, right? Okay, they're the people being killed right now. Interesting.
There was a couple of times like I thought again, because not knowing whether they want to continue the show or not, so that, you know, whether or not a character makes it into the last 3 seasons, if they ever come back to it. I didn't know if Drummer was going to live. I thought Bobby was going to maybe do a little suicide thing.
Yep.
You know,
Same.
shoot some missiles and die. And so that was kind of a pleasant surprise when most of the major characters lived.
Yeah, hold that thought in for a couple more years, okay?
I'm holding. I've read,
especially for somebody who didn't read the books. You know, I didn't know what was going to happen. So I didn't want to lose Bobby. I didn't want to lose Drummer. So I was glad they made it out. But I think also it would have been a little bit more heavy and more impactful, I think, if we lost one of them as well. But like I said, I'm still satisfied with the ending.
That is one thing that I am kind of surprised that they didn't do, like, books aside, and whether or not they have a plan for the future of the franchise aside from that as well. I thought somebody would die. Like, I figured it would be because they kind of like set up Amos to die, because, you know, he has that sacrifice moment of not having to go down, but he goes anyway and then ends up paying the price. Or, you know, I thought he was going to save Bobby and then die or get shot or something, especially since he said that the ship has a mechanic when he was talking to Clarissa, which that was a great moment too. I've loved, she's been one of my highlights of the season just as a whole. I'm so glad that they have her in and they brought her on the ship as part of the crew. But to have that moment at the start of the episode, and then we get to see her, like, we see her, I thought she was going to die as well. She actually, like, saves the day and does, you know, the job of a mechanic. So we see that Amos didn't just put his faith into nothing. But that whole sequence I thought was really, really well done. And yeah, I'm happy with that for sure.
You open that box now, we have to talk about it. Clarissa's character, also probably one of my favorites this season. I felt like she had some of the best emotional moments and also some great heroic moments. And it was one of the few episodes back where she sacrificed herself. He's like, Amos tells her, you realize you got chewed out, right? And she's so happy that she actually got called part of the crew. But to have her in that moment talk to Holden and reveal the truth about why she wanted to kill him, and then this character reversal moment, and even I think Naomi was talking about it, and just like how we try to be those types of people. You know, I'm not the same person I was when I was 21. You know, I'm now 40 years old. There's decisions in our lives that we make that we might not be proud of, but like we can all be Clarissa's as well. You know, and I do love that turnaround. You know, she was part of the crew. She was going to dedicate herself and work as hard as anybody else. And I applaud that. That was great writing by the writers.
If this was Game of Thrones, she would have gotten to the battle and then gone, you know what? I changed my mind, and then blown the reactor. Would have been like Jamie. The redemption arc that just gets shrugged away at the very end. I'm still bitter about that show. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I do love her character as well. Did you watch her bonus, the little bonus episode?
Yep.
The Night Watch with her. It's like 5 minutes long. It's really good. It's just, we had a couple of head shakes there. I would definitely go in. You have to. It's so dumb the way Amazon has done this. You can't watch X-Ray on your TV. You have to, or at least you can't access this bonus content on your TV. It has to be through X-Ray on your phone or your computer. and there's 6 bonus episodes that are all about 5 minutes long, and each one of them is kind of a character study.
I'm gonna put a pin in that real quick, Ian, because I watched it on my Fire Stick, and you can access the X-ray that way.
Okay, so a Fire Stick you can, yes, but if it's an Amazon app on your smart TV, you can't.
Yeah. I have Amazon Cube as well, and that's how I access them.
Okay,
but I didn't get to watch it.
It's a great little 5-minute just look into her character and just her kind of relationship with her dad. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And Kara, the actress is actually from Ontario, Canada. She is Indigenous. I forgot. I'm ignorant about her tribe right now because I'm into my drink. But as I think Cree, but any which way, she's a powerful force, right? And it's great to see, and we need more of her, right? Mm-hmm. She has a presence, right? That's the thing. You walk into a stage and give a speech, and it's about would you be willing to follow a drummer? Because I would be, absolutely.
Yeah.
Drummer is so fearless.
We can probably talk a little bit about the ending once they defeat Marco and they go back and all 3 factions meet and discuss what they want to do moving forward. And I wasn't surprised that they picked Holden to be the leader for what ended up being like 2 minutes. The president, I think, is what he was president of. What was it again? I don't remember what it was called now. Probably should have rewatched the episode, to be honest.
The trade union.
Transportation. Well, sorry.
Whatever it was. Everyone that's listening to this should know by now. We don't remember names and all that stuff.
Come on, Chris. They made the announcement at the Toronto City Hall. They actually really did. That's the scene, right? Okay. It's amazing because anyone from Canada, from Ontario, will realize, hey, they're filming this at the Toronto City Hall.
That's funny. I didn't realize that. That's awesome.
That's great.
I'm pretty sure it's the transport union.
Yep.
Yeah,
transport union. Okay. But yeah, once we got that, and then he resigned, and he named Drummer vice president, and then he resigned, and so Drummer would take that leadership role. That made me really happy. Drummer's always been one of my favorite characters ever since she got introduced, and to see her finally get something that she honestly deserves was so satisfying. And it was funny to see like one last trick that Holden had up his sleeve, because he's such a clever character sometimes, and to see that he pulled one over on Avasarala was excellent, even though she kind of knew what he was about to do whenever he started talking and he continued past his script.
But the whole thing is that Avasarala knows that. Avasarala knows Holden. Avasarala planned that. She has plausible deniability, which is amazing, right? Okay, but Avasarala knows everything that happens in Holden's mind. So I'm sorry.
But the thing about Holden, though, okay, so I just randomly started rewatching from season 1, and I love that Holden's character ended off with a decision, because that's how his character started, with a decision. Now, the difference between the 2 decisions is one he hid from. He didn't want people to know that he actually made this decision to call in the emergency broadcast, and what ended up destroying the cat. However, he's making a decision now that he believes is right, and now he's broadcasting it to everybody because it's the right thing to do. I just love the contrast of who he was in the beginning to who he is at the end. He was so confident. Really so I love that.
Yeah. Making a good decision and hiding it versus making a good decision and broadcasting it to the entire universe.
And also the fact that stress wears you down, age wears you down, right? Politics wears you down. Conflict is the biggest stress, right? So we see these characters in season 6. Jesus Christ. Sorry.
Even the actor, though, he's actually really like fit and muscular in the first season. Yeah, and he's really thin towards the end, because his face has done that.
Yeah, but even Naomi, like all the characters are presented in terms of the film image as being run down, right? Like they're not the sexy symbol people they were in season 1. They were not.
Yeah, totally right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my wife looked it up because we were watching it together, and she was like, "Dude, he is so skinny." She's like, "I wonder if he's sick." And so she looked it up, and I think he chose to lose like 20 pounds because he was saying like Holden would be ragged at this point, so I'm gonna lose weight. I'm gonna look bad. And the only character that I think this is probably 2 characters that I think looked great the whole time, and that would be Carrot G, and I always screw up her name, but Shora, Christian Avasarala, and Kamina, drummer, I think looked great the whole time. Everyone else just looked like they were just run down.
Officerella's costumes were amazing, by the way, throughout the
always
beginning to end.
Always.
Like they were fabulous, man. Those were great.
She's my favorite character. I'm all about high politics, and she nails it. But really, Officerella, the actor, the character, all that stuff.
Yeah.
My second tier stuff is like bars, because I'm disappointed there was not a bar scene in last finale. Yeah, but I can live with that.
Well,
there was coffee though, wasn't there? I think there was coffee.
Oh, there was coffee.
I'm all for the coffee.
I'm all for coffee. Okay.
Well, Joel, that's why you need to watch the X-ray, because there is a bar scene in one of the X-rays.
Oh, really? Now?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah. I'm not going to tell you
Joel
more.
just got so excited.
I'm just going to tell you that there's a bar scene, so that just means you have to go watch all the X-rays. I'm not going to even tell you which one.
Yeah, I tried that. It just showed me a bunch of stills, but still, okay, I'll try it. I'll go back.
Yeah, just do it on a computer, and you'll see the picture or the bonus content as videos. They're like named episodes, and you just go to episode 6, and it'll show all of them. If you go to episode 1, you'll only see the 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Thanks, Ian. I appreciate it.
One thing that I do want to bring up is, and we've talked about her a lot this season, is Naomi. One of, I think, the best moments of her character was when she had that moment of hesitation when she was going to essentially send Marco and Philip to their doom, and she does it anyway because she knows that's what needs to be done. And then as soon as it happens, she just lets out this bellowing scream. And then I think the next scene after that, it cuts right to Holden consoling her. And that moment was heartbreaking, especially because at this point we didn't know the fate of Philip. We kind of maybe had an idea with some foreshadowing, but we didn't know. And just to see that for the first time was just, it broke my heart.
Yeah, that was really well acted. It was super sad.
She's had some really good moments from beginning to end. Her emotion was probably the one that moved me the most throughout the whole series itself. But yeah, that was the emotion of a mother, that she let out. And if let's say the Philip thing was ambiguous, we didn't know what happened. That's one of those things you would know she would be thinking, whether or not she could have saved her son, even though she tried. There's always going to be this hopeful feeling inside of all of us that, could we have done more? And that was everything encapsulated in that one scream. So yeah, good point.
I think she really struggled as a parent, and you love your kids.
I do love though that for me, I think Philip saw his dad as a fraud. That's kind of the way I saw it, because his dad was so big with his speeches and even the way he talked to Philip versus how he talked to the crew. I think once and for all, Philip finally just saw through the bullshit. That's it. I am done with this. I feel like it was the tone of the speech versus when they had their moment by themselves and the disagreement they had, because it was just such a contrast. And he realized that he's selling people nothing, I do love that contrast, and that was kind of what I interpreted from Philip reading into his dad.
I'm happy that Philip wasn't eaten by the gate entities, because I took great pride and joy with watching Marco die in the gate.
I will say that's one. That's one bad part about the fact that we're not getting something Like we didn't get some extra things after the fact about really learning what really the ring entities are and what truly happened, because we saw it happen at the end of last season. I remember being on this podcast and we talked about it and we were like, oh my god, that was like, some of y'all that know what was actually happening was like, oh, that was so cool. I'm like, well, I have no idea what was happening. Like, are they dead? Like, is that like, are they suspended in time? What's going on? But to see it again was really neat. But I do wish they could have, and I know, go read the books, but I do wish that they could have shown or explained a little bit more what exactly that was. Even if they have to pull the answer from the last 3 books, they should. I feel like they should have at least explained that a little bit better.
If only there was a 7th episode.
Yeah, Chris, you really should watch
Or
the movie, or that's going to be coming out. It's be great. They will explain all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh God, man, I want to hug you right now because I understand where you're coming from, but it's like, oh my, this is so greater that we can converse about, right? Discuss about. It's insane the stuff that's happening in this series.
Yeah, you definitely got to read the books, man. It's so good.
You know, it's funny that you mention that, because literally as soon as the episode finished, I went to my bookshelf and I grabbed Leviathan Wakes. And I haven't started yet because I do this thing where I get the audiobook from my library and read and listen to the audiobook at the same time. And it just helps with the immersion. It's actually called immersion reading, but it's because it helps with the immersion of it. And it actually just popped up as because I was on hold because a bunch of other people had also requested it. So I couldn't have it yet, but it just popped up the other day that it was ready, but I put it on hold for another couple weeks because there's this other book that I'm reading that's taking precedence right now. But I actually am planning on, now that the series is done, reading the books. And even if we do get this movie or set of movies or another 3 seasons, whatever happens, I do plan on reading it before, I'll finish the series even if I know that there's something else coming, because I want to know what happens, and I want to kind of I went through this, if we do get that, I went through the seasons 1 through 6 of not knowing what happens, so I kind of want to have that other perspective if we ever get that get to that point.
The Expanse is literally just the prequel to Halo.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Bobby is John, Spartan 117.
Yeah. You ever wonder why Master Chief doesn't take off his helmet? Well, that's actually because he's Amos.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, great. This can become a Halo podcast. So
yeah.
What did everyone think of the main campaign of Infinite? I thought it was great.
I've not played it yet.
It's worth playing. It's worth playing just so you can hear all the grunts and their what they're spitting at you as you're playing the game. They have so many fun little quirky and hilarious sayings as you kill them or they kill you, or it's just so funny. Just watch a YouTube video of what the different things they say. Trust me, it's great.
The reason why I said that, by the way, Chris, was because I know there was so many holes left open. You know what I mean? Like, what is going to happen to Philip after, he leaves and takes up Naomi's last name? But also, like, just what was happening on Laconia, like seeing that what looks like a ship being built, like, what's the conclusion of that, Yeah. But for me, it's just funny because it reminds me of Halo. Even the Mars armor reminds me of Halo. Mm-hmm. And they both have humming as, like, their intros for the theme music. So, yeah.
Ian, you're kind of out of this question because you've read the books, but Ernie, you've not read it, just like me. So what do you think about the prelude to each episode with what's going on Laconia?
I haven't decided yet, if I'm being honest. I don't know, because, and I explained this in the last episode that we recorded, I felt a little disconnected from the Laconia stuff. And honestly, it did feel like I was watching the theatrical release of Justice League, and we were just seeing this Russian family thrown in. that doesn't mean I'm not interested, because what was happening was really creepy about like bringing the brother back. That was like something out of nightmares, and it reminds me even of the first episode where Mao was looking at the fusion drive and sees all the proto molecule expanding, like all that stuff. I feel like if I knew they were going to keep going, which I'm winking, by the way, I totally think they're going to do something else with it. I'm going to be invested. If they end off the show the way it is, I'm fine not really looking into it. But I honestly haven't decided, because I don't know. I felt disconnected from it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was very. So first of all, I love anything that deals with the protomolecule, especially once I saw the effects it can have on somebody. Obviously, Miller was my favorite character throughout the whole show. When he died and then came back as the investigator, and we saw just what the protomolecule kind of like did to manifest, that was fascinating to me. And to see it kind of take over what was it, Zan? Am I saying that right? Zan? It has an X in it, so it's a little weird. To see the protomolecule kind of like take over him, and like to see that one of the last shots of that whole sequence from this episode was like his point of view, and you saw like it was all blue and it was weird looking. That was so cool to see, and I wanted to see more. Honestly, I probably would have like rather have had half a season of whatever this stuff is, and then half of like what we got, just to like kind of tell that story more and resolve it. I really hope that we get to see it on the screen, even though I know I have to go back and read the books now to find out. I'm really excited just to get to that point, see what all of this means, because I know it's super cool. I just have zero clue.
Question for you, Chris. What makes you think that Zan had anything like the protomolecule in him?
Based on the well, yeah, because it was blue, and I did see. This isn't a spoiler, but I mean, this person could have been wrong, but I did read like a recap or review thing, and they weren't talking book spoilers, but they did mention like something involving the protomolecule with him. So I'm just assuming. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, then I mean,
I'm just saying we never saw the protomolecule, so
we didn't.
I'm just saying.
Well, you're right. We didn't. That's just me assuming. But I hope that I'm right, because it would be pretty cool.
If everybody could see Ian's evil smile right now, that would say a lot, I think.
Now I could totally be way off base, and I have forgotten a critical plot point, but from the books, but I don't recall it having to do anything with the protomolecule.
Oh, okay. Well, then again, I might be wrong. I could have, even the person that I was reading that article could be totally. See, that's what I got after first watching it. I had no idea what was going on until we saw his point of view. I was like, okay, this has to do with the protomolecule,
right?
It's blue.
I mean, that said, I mean, we've seen. I think, remember when there was like the kid who turned into the protomolecule zombie thing or whatever, and I think we kind of saw the world through his eyes a couple of times, and it looked kind of similar. So I either am missing or forgetting something critical from the books, or the show did it slightly different.
We for sure know it's like alien. That's
it is not human.
That's for sure.
I don't think that it's as simple as, hey, if I get hurt or if I die, the dogs can fix me. Like,
right.
Nope, not that simple.
Yeah, I think including anything that was happening on Laconia without anticipating going beyond season 6 is kind of crazy. I'll leave it at that, but it was an interesting choice to spend that much time on it.
Yeah, I mean, Ian, you know what happens. So do you think that, like, I mean, you have said already that you think that there's more coming. If that's not the case, do you think that was a smart decision on that? Like, even if like the intent was a tease, Like, I almost would have rather had something happen at the end.
Yeah, I think it was a smart decision because if it happens, if they continue on, we have that backstory. If they don't, it's kind of just a mystery. And people might have questions, but I think it was smart to include it in the hopes that the story continues.
It just is so weird to me that they would show something so cool that then they wouldn't, have some kind of payoff. There's a couple people that I watch on YouTube that react to The Expanse, and this one channel they're called Blind Wave. They have reacted to the whole show. They were talking about this, and they had brought up some points about Laconia and whether that there's not payoff, and I wanted to also see if there was any similar reaction to people that I know who've not read the book. So I went to the Expanse subreddit and looked at the discussion thread for people who also hadn't read the book, and a lot of people were like, what was the point of everything on Laconia? Like that made no sense. It was dumb. Like, there was people like really critiquing it. Like, there was no payoff to that. That had nothing to do with anything. Like, why even show it? And everyone that was replying was like, well, you got to read the books.
The book readers, I do have a question. Will it translate as well as the first 6 seasons have?
Well, that's a good question.
Because, I mean, we're getting into, I hate to say it, but like The Ring was like neon lights and hippie lighting, like not in a bad way, because like, how do you translate that? But how does that translate? Do you think it would translate well into TV? Because what we see in The Expanse reminds me a lot of like Das Boot, the German U-boat World War II movie, where everything's claustrophobic. It's like a submarine warfare, and then you have the politics, all that stuff translated a certain way. But now you're getting into like Doctor Strange territory. You know what I mean?
I think it's more Friedrich Nietzsche. It's very much like what comes afterwards, because it's always the surprises that screws up humanity, right? It's always the unknown. It's like the unknowns. It's a David Mansfield quote, which I don't particularly like the man, but it's like, what we know in the unknowns, right?
I have no idea. I mean, it does get more sci-fi, almost to fantasy, kind of. And I'm really curious to how that'll translate, if it ever does.
Well, that's one thing that we've really praised this show about, and the series as a whole, is that it is grounded a lot in realism. And the proto-molecule, well, hopefully doesn't exist, and it doesn't create these big blue monsters that can live in space. And but but yeah, like there's we don't have that. But maybe that could be why they didn't want to really explore. I mean, obviously this is alien stuff, so we're way out in left field now. Especially if you're somebody that doesn't believe in extraterrestrials. Yeah, I don't know. I'm certainly intrigued to see it, but that could be something why they wouldn't want to do it, or maybe they wouldn't want to put this into a TV like 3-season format again, because it wouldn't translate as well. Maybe they do have a plan for like either a set of movies or a mini series or a limited series or something along those lines. Not an official like season 7, but almost kind of like a spin-off sort of, but not a spin-off, but not really.
Yeah, Chris, I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's a story that's going to be told, but the last 3 books is amazing storytelling. And it will pose questions and answers, and more questions. When we're dealing with science fiction, it's always about questions about us as humanity, but it's always also about new stimuli, right? What changes the mix-up? And the product molecule is that thing in the Expanse. And that's cool. That's what makes Expanse tick, is this unknown stuff that we talk about sometimes, and mostly not, because we're too busy in our own crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is kind of interesting. I wonder if this season was people's not their favorite because there wasn't really much at all to do with the protomolecule. And there wasn't a ton last season either. But
There was there's some mystery though still.
That's true.
There wasn't a lot of mystery for this one.
No. Yeah, so I'm curious if not having that, the big bad protomolecule bad guy made it less not interesting, just less intense.
Less intriguing.
Intriguing. Thank you.
True. But the flip side is, how do you unite the tribes of humanity here? Or how do you unite us, right? The Bolters, the Earthers, the Mars people, right? I don't want to say Martians. How do you unite us, right? It's always an external force. Who is it? And this series,
the Rocinante.
Yeah,
just kidding.
There we go. Yeah. No, bars. That's the answer. But I digress. But, God.
One thing I noticed also too, just kind of randomly talking here also, but I wondered if the look of the Belters changed on purpose to find maybe the actors that fit in the roles a little bit better, because in the first season they start talking about the elongated bodies, the skinny look, the brittle bone stuff, and then we have Cara G. By the way, this is not a knock on her, but she's obviously shorter, but one of the best for the role, obviously. It's just, I wonder what the thought was with that, if they abandoned that because we already know what the universe is, or at least can imagine it, because I always had that in the back of my head.
Yeah, I think if in a perfect world they would continue that, but in terms of production value and money, spending money on that to make that happen, not so much. And that's unfortunate, because I always want people to remind that, we're dealing with people in space.
Mm-hmm.
That's why
you're either finding people who are excellent actors with that body type, or you're spending money on CGI to make them appear that way. And I think you have to kind of choose.
Yeah. And the fact of the matter is that dealing with stuff in space, so it expands. It's so important in terms of getting the right character cast, getting all that stuff, doing all the realistic CGI when it calls for.
So looking back on the series as a whole, you all weren't around for when we did seasons 1 and 2. You all came on for 3, right? I'm not misremembering.
I'm pretty sure it was 3. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds right.
It was the last season on SciFi.
Yeah, I think it was, because I remember beginning to love it right before it got dropped by SciFi. So
yeah, and I caught up on seasons 1 and 2 before we started, I think, doing season 3. Yeah, and it's kind of funny. I own all the books except for the first one. I don't own Leviathan Wakes. I don't have the first book, because I remember I watched the first season. I was like, oh man, this is so great. And somebody suggested that, they were so accurate, you can just pick up with book 2 and you're not going to miss anything. Like, they did such a good job covering book 1 that you're not going to be confused.
Do you think that, obviously the ride was worth it, but is there anything that if you could go back and redo something, or do you think that the kind of one book per season format really fit everything?
I thought that it's such a freaking good job. I wouldn't go back and change anything, I don't think. I think one book per season was done really, really well. I love that the last episode of every season was named after the book. And this show, I think, is going to be near and dear to my heart for a long, 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 long time. I'm really glad I was able to convince my wife to watch it, and then she likes it too. It's just so well done. For me, it's the standard for sci-fi that I'm going to kind of hold things to, and definitely visually. And Yeah, I don't know. I really, really loved it. I love all these characters so much. I've loved having been a part of this podcast, and just hanging out with you guys and talking about the show. I've never had a show that has made me want to talk about it on a podcast. So maybe that's something. That's saying something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
I don't think it's good luck with the show. I think it's good hunting. And it's the content providers, they have a target and they're hunting for the target. We have faith in the hunting providers. They're good. Trust in the hunters.
Yeah, I think as a whole, I think Ian said what I've been wanting to say. This will be the standard now for sci-fi shows. Movies is a different topic, but for sci-fi shows, this is it. This is what I'm going to be looking at. I don't think I've ever ran into a show where I've watched the first season 3 times. Mm-hmm. This is my 3rd time around. So that's saying a lot because I lose interest. Even just some of the stuff that I've had to get used to, makes more sense and makes the show a lot more exciting. So like understanding the belter terms and realizing that they're casting insults like walla, that whole thing, like beltalota, that is like a term of honor, that sort of thing. This show is the standard. I'm very, very happy and pleased with it. I think for me, having minor complaints about the last episode are like that. They were going to be forgettable. Like I'm going to forget why I complained about it because I loved every single thing that they did with this show. And as a whole, I think the show is just the tops. So that's my assessment.
Yeah. I'm with all of y'all. I mean, I've been doing this podcast since the very start. Got into the show even before it aired because they posted the first episode on YouTube of all places. SciFi did, and I remember watching it, and then the camp blew up at the end of that first one. I was like, oh my god, this is incredible. And I had to see what was happening, and obviously, it was fate from there. But yeah, this is definitely the standard. Should be the standard for proper science fiction shows as they relate to. Especially as they relate to like our world, and they're not something like that's way out there in different universes that have nothing to do with Earth or anything around that. I think that while we did have a couple of missteps along the way, it was nothing that really drug the series down as a whole. And I think while it did, I think, stick the landing, it was not a perfect landing. It may have like been a rocky descent, to put it in like an airplane term, but it did land safe and sound and was overall satisfying.
And we saw that, Chris, didn't we, with Naomi and Holden holding hands in their little bunk on the Wasante, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having a very intimate moment. There's lots of ills in the world or the universe, the galaxy, but they're having a private moment, and that's how we close out this last episode in season 6, episode 6. Is before we cut to the spaceship, before we cut to the gates, we saw Naomi and Holden have a quiet moment together.
Yeah.
The cinematographer, by the way, Jeremy Benning, posted something really cool something that Joel brought up. It was basically like the last moments, but he also posted their first moments and last moments, like their first line and their last line, and just like how peaceful everything wrapped up in a nice little bow.
Yeah, dovetail. Yeah,
for sure.
And I like that Holden acknowledges that there are threads that still need to, but what about this? What about this? I was like, I don't know. Show's over.
Yep. And then Naomi's like, yeah, let's just sit here for a second. Let's just chill. And her last line, which is the last line of the show, it was a beautiful way to wrap it up.
Yeah, and as old lovers, that's amazing. Okay, just saying.
Yep. Yeah, they've just like us. They've all been on a crazy journey. This podcast has definitely been on a crazy journey. Not just this episode, but the podcast as a whole. Ever since we started it.
Yeah,
that is very true.
All right. Well, any closing? I mean, we've pretty much closed out our thoughts, but any final words?
I love you guys.
I love that Marker died. Yeah, we're off. Yeah. F you. F you.
You're a little too enthusiastic about his death.
I'm like that. I'm Irish. God. And I'm drunk at this point. But still. Yeah, that's where I stand. Cheers, guys.
The Rocinante will fly again. Cheers.
One of these days, yeah. All right, everyone. Well, that is going to do it for the Crash Couch, I guess. That's weird for me to say. I do want to. I didn't have anything like. I thought about like preparing some kind of like statement or something that I wanted to say, but I didn't. I do just want to take a moment and thank anyone that's ever, if like I'm just for transparency's sake, unless I get some kind of like motivation to do this again, assuming that we would get something in the future. This is going to be the last episode of the Crash Couch. So I do want to just take a moment to thank every single person that is either been on the show, been a host of the show, done something for the show, supported the show, left a review, positive or negative, tweeted, all of that stuff. Shout out to Eric and Lou, who started this with me with Random Chatter way back in however long ago that was, 2016, something around that time. 2017 maybe. God, I don't even remember at this point. Yeah, we started this kind of like not really knowing what it would turn into, and then the fact that it's turned into a podcast, it's literally ran the whole length of the show of The Expanse, is just mind-blowing to me. Thanks to Ernie, Ian, Joel, and Laura for coming on whenever I really needed a host. Also, thanks to Andrea, who was also a host for a period of time, stepping in and graciously taking on that. Thanks to literally anybody that was involved with The Expanse that came on. I know we had a couple of interviews that we did that I wish we could have done more of, but just time and whatnot really didn't allow for that, unfortunately. But thanks to that, thanks to anyone that ever live tweeted with us. I know we didn't really get to do that a lot with the Amazon situation, but season 2 of this show, whenever we live tweeted that, was probably one of my favorite times of my life that I've ever had. So I really appreciate that. Thanks to anybody that came on and did a guest spot. I know that Derek, who is one of Joel's hosts on the SciFi Pubcast, he's been on. I don't remember if we ever had anybody else that did any fill-ins. But super grateful for that. And then finally, just any fan that took the time to listen to me, to listen to the guys that's on here, Laura, Eric, Lou, all of us. I know if they were here too, they would all say the same thing. We wouldn't have kept doing the show if we didn't have people listening to it. And even if it's just 50 downloads, like it's 50 downloads that I'm super happy for, and I'm just really glad that even in times of uncertainty, that the show was able to carry on, and that we were able to see it until what I'm assuming is the end. So, yeah, that's all I've got to say. Oh, and one other thing. Thank you to Gonna Geek for taking us on and like helping us grow the show and boost it out there for the last couple of years. Really appreciate that, and shout out to them. So I know you hear their bumper at the very beginning of these recent seasons. Definitely go check them out, because I know that they have a lot of good content on that network. So I just don't put it there because they're just some random people. Like, they're actually good and kind and worth listening to. So I hope I didn't forget anybody, but I'm pretty sure that I nailed anybody that's come on and that's been a guest. If not, then I do apologize, but I think I got everyone. As for anything that happens in the future, like with the Twitter, I mean, I will still have the Twitter active. That's at Crash Couch. If you do want to say something on there, go ahead. If by some chance we do get some future content, Expanse content, be it like a movie or series or something, we might come back to this. Honestly, I can't say that. That's way too far in the future if something even does happen. So just, be on the lookout. Joel put in our chat that there might be a music video. Yeah, that'd be one long music
That's
video.
how they wrap the last trilogy of books, is just with the music video.
I mean, Ian, you did make an Expanse-related song one time, so maybe they'll take that. Just make the
That's
music
true.
video.
And I keep telling myself to finish an EP, but it takes time.
Time and effort. And who has that anymore? Yeah, I do plan on at least keeping the feed active for at least another year just to see what happens. That being said, I do want to point out a thing. This podcast is hosted on Podbean, and I think my renewal is up in a month, and I will re-up it for another month just in case something happens. But after that, so like February of 2023, if you're listening up to that point, it won't, like, I'm going to let the subscription lapse. So I don't know what will happen to the feed. It may just like stay up. It may shut down. It may only show like certain episodes because it goes to a what they call a free plan. I don't really know. So if you are listening to this and you want to like go back, like you're in the future and you want to go back and listen to the old stuff, I'll try to find some kind of way to keep the podcast archived. Joel did mention that it is on his YouTube. Joel, do you want to give that a shout out?
Yeah, so every episode, The Crash Out, Chris gives me, is uploaded to the SciFi Podcast YouTube channel, where we post our podcast episodes because it's another platform and which we love. There you go, Chris. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that might actually be something that I look into once this wraps up with billing and subscription wise for a podcast. I might actually look to put everything that we have going all the way back to the beginning on YouTube, or some place for people to find it if they are interested. So yeah, I think that's really all the housekeeping that I have. Just last episode kind of stuff. So yeah, if you want to follow us, there's really no point in following at Crash Couch anymore unless something happens with the Expanse in the future. But you can, and just say hey, say thanks for putting out a show. If you like listening, then maybe let me know. Make sure that I know it wasn't all in vain. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do so at The Curse of Chris. Bernie, you're not on Twitter. You're on Instagram. Can people follow you on Instagram?
Yeah, you could always request and I'll obviously add you. That's totally cool with me. But I'm on Instagram at your buddy Ernie.
Ian, where are you at these days? You have so many weird handles that I forget.
Twitter's kind of my main thing. And that's bearded ASMR, where only 1 in every 20 tweets is actually about ASMR.
And Joel, last but not least, where can people find you?
Yeah, stopped right there, Chris. Just want to say thank you for everything, man. It's so appreciate. I'm so my heart's on the table right now. I appreciate everything you've done this podcast and the Expanse series.
Yeah, wouldn't have happened without you, dude. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
You jolt this, despite the issues with scheduling hosts, despite network stuff, despite podcasting, logistics and politics, whatever. It's a love of the content, and it's the crash, it's the Expanse, and you continue through. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Chris. You're also a very, very good friend, man. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. It has been a blast, and I wouldn't have wanted to. If there was anybody that could have picked up when we had our little mid podcast series change, whatever you want to call it, I'm glad that it was you all.
Yeah. So it's what's my address? Joel _Welch on Twitter, and SciFi Pubcast. Yeah, which is variety show, and since I made a major move where I left government work and came back to academia to do a PhD, I'm busier than hell. So yeah, you can try that out. So we get episodes every so often. But yeah, thanks for everything.
Also, want to shout out to Laura. She was not able to join us for this episode just due to some scheduling conflicts with everything that has gone on in the world right now. Has a lot in her life, so thanks to her for supporting the show and being on here. You can find her on Twitter at Laura Donut. So yeah, with that being said, that's the end of the Crash Couch. Probably, maybe, we'll see what happens. But yeah, for the last time, seriously, thanks to everyone that ever listened to this, and somehow if you made it to the end of this recording, just I don't know how you did it, but it is much appreciated. Yeah, with all that being said, take care, everyone. Thanks again.